China's September 3rd military parade will be held to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of the War of Resistance against Japan. This will be a celebration of China's victory in World War II. It will be the fourth such military event since President Xi Jinping came to power more than 10 years ago. Yet the context of this parade today is strikingly different. At home, China faces massive economic headwinds, but its military strength continues to grow. Abroad, its ties with the West, particularly with the United States, are increasingly tense. And at the same time, China is at the forefront of the post-war international order that's being reshaped. The single biggest pressure point on all countries happens to be the continuing Russia-Ukraine war. This year's parade in 2025 is not simply a ceremonial display of troops and weapons. What China intends to do is a carefully orchestrated act of strategic communication. China will be weaving together messages of military strength, diplomatic positioning, and historical narratives which are directed at audiences both at home and abroad. The military element in particular is designed as much for domestic consumption as it is for foreign, particularly with an eye on the United States. China will also be seeking to send a signal to some key neighbors with whom it has ongoing maritime disputes, whether it's Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. Just like in the past and the military parades that have happened in the last 10 years, Beijing will showcase some of the newly commissioned or soon-to-be commissioned weapons. But it will be careful not to display any weapon which is still in the testing stage or which are some of the most super-secretive projects. Yet, given the surge of military modernization in recent years, the 2025 parade is expected to feature more advanced military equipment than in any other parade before it. The focus will be on fourth-generation tanks, carrier-based aircraft, and fifth-generation fighter jets. Also prominently featured will be new capabilities in cyber and electronic warfare, including drones, energy weapons, and jamming systems, along with hypersonic missiles, air defense systems, and strategic strike carrier groups. For a domestic audience in China, this reinforces the message that China is no longer just a middle-income economy. It is today a superpower. And that is a key part of the Chinese Communist Party's claim to legitimacy. For foreign audiences, it sends a signal that the People's Liberation Army is no longer preparing for future wars, but is rather a combat-ready army here and now. The parade will also underline the PLA's ability to project power, deter adversaries, and enforce China's security claims, many of which are contested in the region. China sees itself as the regional hegemon, and this parade will reinforce the image of power projection to China's disputed neighbors. It will also closely be followed across the straits in Taiwan, because in Taipei there is creeping fear that sooner than later there could be an armed confrontation by Beijing to forcibly annex Taiwan. But the diplomatic centerpiece of this year's military parade will be Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Russian president will attend the parade. He also took part in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit earlier this week. For Putin, who is still isolated by the Ukraine war, Beijing offers legitimacy. For Xi Jinping, Putin's presence underscores China and Russia's no-limits partnership. The two leaders were sitting side by side, just like Xi Jinping did for Russia's own World War II anniversary parade that happened back in May. And the images of Xi and Putin sitting side by side, sitting together, overseeing the parade will be one of the most striking images from the event. And the timing of this parade is particularly noteworthy, as Washington brokers a trilateral US-Russia-Ukraine dialogue. Xi Jinping and Putin are expected to quietly discuss what kind of post-war arrangement there would be in Ukraine. For Beijing, this is a chance to project itself as a responsible power. For Moscow, it's a path out of isolation. Joining Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin will be the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un and President Masoud Pezeshkian of Iran. This is the first time that the leaders of these four countries, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, will be gathering in the same place. Kim Jong-un, in fact, traveled from Pyongyang to Beijing by high-speed train, which in itself became a big talking point on social media. Other guests who are expected to attend include Min Aung Hlaing, who is the chief of Myanmar's junta, the army, President Denis Sassou of the Republic of Congo. These are all leaders who hail from countries who don't exactly have a great human rights record. The parade is also an opportunity for diplomatic theatre. It may break records for foreign attendance. Reports are emerging in particular of high-level leaders from most Southeast Asian countries will be there, excluding only the Philippines. This contrast is deliberate. By assembling leaders from Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Central Asia, Africa, and Latin America, Beijing is seeking to send the message that it is the representative of the global South. The attendance of Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, and Myanmar, despite some of them having maritime disputes with China, will allow Beijing to claim that most Southeast Asian countries prefer cooperation over confrontation with Beijing, despite the ongoing territorial disputes in the South China Sea. For decades, the global narrative of World War II has privileged the contributions of the United States and Soviet Union. Victory Day is a mandatory celebration in Europe. History has not exactly remembered China's sacrifices in bringing about the end of World War II in Asia and the defeat of Imperial Japan. The parade provides Xi Jinping an important stage to retell China's story to the world. China, according to folklore, has played a decisive role in defeating Japan and shaping the outcome of the war in Asia. It also reinforces nationalist pride at home and Beijing's claim that it was one of the founding architects of post-war order. The overarching message is that China is not merely flaunting its military strength, it's presenting an integrated narrative. That it was a decisive actor in the past, it's a formidable power in the present, and it aspires to shape the future. America and the West better watch out.